You wouldn't be asking that question, even talking about the issue, because for 54 years they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it. They wanted to get it back, right?
And with that move, women's bodily rights and abortion healthcare access essentially disappeared, at least for the most part, across America. My name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch Network. In the wake of yet another mass shooting in America, and you could be watching this video on any given day, and it's likely that there was either a mass shooting today that you're watching it or the day before. But I want to show you what Donald Trump bragged about doing during his presidency regarding our national gun carnage epidemic. Listen to him.
Having to do with guns, we did nothing. We didn't yield. And once you yield a little bit, that's just the beginning. That's the avalanche begins.
Right, so the answer is nothing, or enabling more gun violence. One of my favorite quotes is from the legendary and late Dr. Maya Angelou, who said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." That is great life advice, by the way. So when Donald Trump announces he wants to be an autocrat...
Today in the New York Times, he said that I want to be a dictator. I didn't say that. I said I want to be a dictator for one day. But the New York Times said, and you know why I wanted to be a dictator? Because I want a wall, right? I want a wall, and I want to drill, drill, drill.
We must take him at his word. His followers do. They are on board with the authoritarian government that Trump is promising them. One recent poll revealed that 74% of Republicans are A-OK with Trump as a dictator.
And if you put me back in the White House, their reign is over. Their reign will be over. And they know it. And America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation right now. We don't have free press. We don't have free anything. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today, I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not gonna let me...
The mainstream press is so ginned up with absurd headlines about Biden's age and a special counsel report that completely exonerated our current president, President Biden, that they are not focusing on the most important and critical stories of this upcoming election. That the front runner for the Republican Party says he wants to be a dictator, that he wants to undermine the NATO alliance, and with that undermine global democracy, and essentially saddle up with Vladimir Putin.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Okay, firstly, countries don't pay dues into NATO. It's a 2% GDP thing, but it's not like you don't get to have protection from the NATO alliance if you didn't pay any kind of dues. Donald Trump literally doesn't understand the fundamentals of NATO. But aside from his ignorance on this topic, which is scary, because if you're going to be the leader of the free world, you should understand the mechanics of NATO. He doesn't care because Vladimir Putin wants to destroy NATO. And Donald Trump is all too glad to help him do it.
These are not muscle guys here. They're muscle guys up here, right? And they calmly walk to a seat. Ding, 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 ding. They've only got 17 seconds to figure this whole thing out, right? Boom. Okay. Missile launch. Pshin, boom. It
would be easy to dismiss Donald Trump as some orange and zany weirdo. I mean, he looks weird. He's sounding crazier by the day. Like when he rants on about Nikki Haley's husband, who is deployed in Africa on military service.
Hey, he's away. What happened to her husband? What happened to her husband? Where is he? He's gone. He knew.
That was the former president of the United States. Can you imagine if Barack Obama was going around and saying 1/4 of the insane, crazy things that Donald Trump is doing? I mean, like, just imagine. And so we need to remember that he was in the White House. He had the nuclear codes. And I want to bring us back to what Donald Trump said when he was the president during a debate with Biden, when Fox anchor Chris Wallace asked Trump to disavow white militia terrorist groups. Here's what he said.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do
specifically
that, but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
This
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
it's an idea.
FBI director said.
He wouldn't do it. He would not disavow those domestic terror groups. He ignored the warnings, as you heard President Biden point out there, of his own Justice Department about the danger. And this is what happened as a result of dog whistles just like that one, the worst attack on our freedom and our democracy since the Civil War. So the take-home point is this is serious, and we've seen this movie before. Like, we know what happens, and the next time it's going to be 10 times worse. I think many of us have blocked it out, Trump as president, because it was so awful. I mean, sometimes I feel like, was he seriously president for 4 years? Because it was so awful for so many of us. And now we have a responsible human being running the country again in President Biden. But I don't want us to forget the danger that Trump and his allies present to our nation. He is increasingly deranged and delusional, but so is Hitler. He's still dangerous. And if he were to get back into the White House for a second time, he's coming with a well-prepared army of white nationalists like Stephen Miller and thousands of others who will run a fascist government for him. Listen to this clip and what historian Ruth Ben-Ghiat, who is an expert on fascism, has to say on the other side of Trump's comments.
We will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream.
Ruth, there is very specific language in there that caught a number of historians' attention, including yours. Also, the word vermin in particular. What stood out to you from his remarks?
So, since the fascists, authoritarians always want to do two things. They want to change the way that people see violence, making it into something necessary and patriotic and even morally righteous. And they want to change the way people see their targets. And so they use dehumanizing language. And former President Trump is doing both. He's been using his rallies since 2015 to shift the idea of violence into something positive. And now he's starting to use dehumanizing rhetoric, all these groups who live like vermin. And this is what the original fascists did. Hitler started talking about Jews as, parasites in 1920. So by the time he got in 1933, Germans had been exposed to this dehumanizing rhetoric for 13 years. And Mussolini literally talked about rats after he had become dictator in 1927. He said, we need to kill rats who are bringing infectious diseases and Bolshevism from the East. And so this matches up with Trump talking about immigrants bringing disease and other such things. So this is very dangerous rhetoric with a very precise fascist history.
Trump may be crazy, but he's got propaganda down pat. by repeating lies about perceived enemies. He is desensitizing his followers to the violence that he has planned.
Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from. And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country. It's so bad, and people are coming in with disease.
Of course, those statements are then repeated on propaganda networks like Fox and OAN and RSBN, I might have misspoken on that one, and Newsmax, etc., which literally is radicalizing people because that's all they're listening to. They're not watching this network or getting information from other sources. So they're cheering him on with violent statements like this one.
You believe it? This is the day. This is the day we take our country back. Remember that. This is the day we take our country back. So I got a little notice in case you see the security guys. We have wonderful security guys. They said, Mr. Trump, there may be somebody with tomatoes in the audience. So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I promise.
Well, we know Donald Trump hasn't paid any legal fees personally outside of what his PAC is paying, which are coming through donations of, as Ben calls them, the Magadonians. The reason all of us need to pay attention to the dangerous rhetoric that Trump is spewing is because the mainstream press, quite frankly, is failing us. It makes me sad. And as we've seen firsthand over the last few weeks, Trump is literally calling the shots for the MAGA Republican Party. He commanded House Republicans to kill a hardline immigration bill that they begged for, that in no other time would Biden and the Senate Democrats and House Democrats have agreed to sign off on. But because aid to Ukraine is so strong, they said, you know what, go ahead. We'll line up this very conservative immigration bill. But Donald Trump said, no, don't pass it to MAGA Mike Johnson, because he didn't want President Biden, ergo the country, to have a win. That is a scary amount of power that he's wielding without actually being back in the White House.
I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. No, they say, Trump, we love you too, man.
Trump said that in 2016. I remember I was covering the campaign and I thought, that's crazy, as so many others did. Yeah, sure. Yet he was elected into the White House because too many people didn't think that this was a serious enough threat. Remember, Hillary told us exactly who he was and what he was going to do. But too many people stayed home or thought it might be fun to have a failed talk show host in the White House. Well, we know how that turned out. Incredibly dangerous. And we are still grappling with the damage that Trump has inflicted on American democracy. So Trump himself is telling us who he is right now and what he plans to do. And just like Dr. Maya Angelou warned us, we need to believe him the first time. Because, folks, this is not a drill. Democracy is on the line. My name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you for watching, and I wish you peace.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.